John 8:32 says, "And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." Welcome to this Wisdom for Living discussion led by pastor, teacher, and counselor Al Rosenblum. For access to Al's other studies, to request an appointment for a personal discussion, or to contact our team, go to www.alrosenblum.com.
All right,
He tries his hardest.
let's do the verbs.
Okay, on the
First,
verbs,
okay.
No
we
cheaters.
went over the verbs, adjective, person, number,
What is person?
First, second,
First
third.
person, singular, plural.
Wait, what is person?
First, second, third.
first, second, third,
First, second, third, right?
Yes.
You got your little chart?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That first page of the verb chart?
yeah.
You know what doesn't make sense, Al?
What?
Why is person not singular and plural and number 1, 2, and 3?
I'll give you these, their addresses, and you can write them a letter. All right, singular, plural, that's called number. So it's first, second, third, so this is, singular is what? I. What's the plural?
We.
We. So whenever you see a verb that's second person plural, first person plural, inside the verb itself is contained the idea of we. All right, and this is what? Second person singular?
You.
You. And this plural is what? Y'all. And then the third person singular? He, she, it.
What you just said?
All right, and then this is they. Okay? Remember this? So every verb has that. And so you have to identify, when you're identifying the verb, you realize that you have to look for this to see, do I have a singular subject in this verb? Because the verb itself holds the subject. You don't even need a noun subject with this verb. Most of the verbs. They don't have to have a noun subject, the students were sitting in their chairs. You can just say third person plural, they were sitting. No noun, no subject. And that's the part of the genius of the Greek language. All right, so tense. Remember tense? What's the two aspects of tense that are important to us?
Time and time.
Yeah.
Time is what?
Past, present, future.
Past, present, future. Excellent. Kind,
Point or continuous?
point. Yeah, that's called punctiliar, or you got a continuous. All right, very good. Voice. What does the voice do?
Relationship.
The subject, the reaction.
Yep. It talks about whoever this they is,
Who's doing it?
who's doing it, and are they doing it, or is it being done to them? Or are they doing it to themselves? So you got active, subject produces the action. Middle, subject participates in the action or performs the action upon themselves. And the passive says what?
Being done
Subject
to.
receives that.
They receive. It's called the voice of grace.
You're receiving my love right now.
There you go. Mood. Receiving your what?
Love.
Well,
Yeah,
good.
mercy, boy.
I could use a little love. All right, mood orients the verb to the idea of reality. Indicative mood is what?
Historical
Historical
reality.
reality.
So, at least in the mind of the writer, if you were writing a novel that none of it was true, but you were presenting it as true. It's a fiction novel, but you're writing it as if once you get inside the novel, you're writing this as if it's a real thing going on. You would still use the indicative mood from the writer's standpoint, from within the story. It's not real, but so when you read in the New Testament that's in the indicative mood, doesn't necessarily mean that God said that's real. It's that the writer is presenting it with an editorial license to present it as real. You follow that? Was that too complicated? Yeah.
Well, why would it not be real if it was in the Bible?
Like
Well, the Bible uses all different kinds of metaphors and
Oh, metaphor.
yeah, all types of things, you
What
know.
about
where-
like a parable?
I mean, there's all kind of language in the Bible. It's just, you know, what is it called? When, you know, it's called some kind of indirect discourse where you're recalling what someone said. There's a lot of if clauses that say, well, what if so-and-so said? And you put, you know, so anyway, the indicative mood says we're dealing with reality. And now what does the subjunctive mood say?
Possibility.
Hmm?
Possibility?
Possibility,
Yeah.
probability,
Mhm.
optative,
It's,
Doubtful.
yeah.
doubtful, imperative,
It's
Command.
command, extortion,
command, or what?
Exhortation.
urgency.
An admonishment, that's right. All right, so
Exhortation.
there are your verbs. So now, let's say we're gonna take a verb. It's gonna be first person singular, present active indicative of the Greek verb grapho. Does anybody know what that word means?
I forgot.
Right?
To
Is
write.
grapho right?
Means to write. Now, that's a first person singular, present active indicative. So tell me what that means.
You are writing right now.
Continuous.
Yeah, you would say I am writing,
Planning.
or I write. Yeah, that's right. So it's continuous, it's an ongoing thing in the present. Active voice says the speaker or the subject is producing it, and the indicative voice said this is real. So, good.
So it seems like that can get confusing though when you read it in scripture, because to them it was ongoing, but what if it isn't now? You know?
I suppose you gotta put your head back into them and become them. And be the one reading it. The more you can take yourself back and become those people, as far as their customs and their mindset and what they were, you know, accustomed to seeing and living in their life, the more you can understand what's being written and understand what the writer was saying to those people. That concept that he was conveying is the concept God's conveying to us. Okay, so it's not what we read into it now and say, oh, I see people do that all the time. They go, well, it's just like this political stuff that's going on. I mean, they look at people that, like Abraham Lincoln, who was really heroic in trying to move America out of slavery. But because he was part of that old guard, modern day people say, well, he didn't do enough, you know, he was wrong. And they take today's standards, how they're thinking, and they impose it on somebody who lived 200 years ago. And that's just insane, ridiculous insane. So we don't want to do that with the Bible, with the scripture. We don't want to take what we commonly refer to or think about, or the way our perspective today, and try to write it into the past. We got to get back to the past. So, all right, there's your verbs. What if this was subjunctive, present, active, subjunctive? How would you translate it?
You may write.
Oh,
Yeah, I might write.
yeah.
Maybe I will, maybe I won't.
Mhm.
See? So same word. You'll change, the ending will change. You'll find the subjunctive ending on it. And that's what tells you it's a subjunctive. Then you plug it into the schematic here that says, all right, the subjunctive says this. All right. That's why we don't have to memorize all this. That's how I was taught by Dave Wisnack, was, okay, you gotta know all these. You gotta remember all these paradigms of all these nouns and all these endings. And it was like, you know, that just never worked out. That's why people took it in seminary, preachers, and as soon as they got through it, they threw those books in the, you know, in the bottom of a box somewhere and never saw them again. because they hated it. So we don't want to teach it like that so that we hate it. All right, now, let's do, before we do nouns, let's do participles. So, maybe I've got something in here.
What page is that gonna be?
Oh, you'll have to look for it in your book.
Okay.
Did I do participles? Did I have a cheat sheet on participles?
Let me see.
I got it.
You do?
I do. Okay, let me see.
Pull that out for me
It's
if you
not
don't mind.
really a cheat sheet, it's just verses.
Yeah, show that to me.
Really should have.
This one?
Yeah, okay.
Is that it? What does it look like?
Hang on.
We've got another one? See, there you go.
Hey, Rhonda, would you take that and make copies of it?
We have it.
Yeah, but I don't
Yeah.
I don't have
Let
it.
me see if I got it.
I wrote all of mine.
I got one sentence written on that. Carrie?
Yeah.
Yeah, yours have it written
Yeah.
down.
On
Okay.
the back.
How many copies? You just need one copy?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's all right.
I need a copy also,
Okay.
Rhonda.
And Austin needs a copy?
Always.
Okay.
Except for when I come in.
Huh? Yeah. Now we need to take a nap.
Participle.
Poor Al, he gets his brain dead, sleepy.
See if Ethan wants. Let's see, yours was folded.
Oh, yeah, I got this. Cool.
Okay. Ethan, do you have the participle sheet?
I don't think so. I couldn't find it, I was looking for it.
Participle,
Pie.
case and gender.
He's
Case, gender, and number, that's what it is.
EI.
With the name.
Back to
Yeah. We've been talking about
Ugh.
the whole process.
Elias, Osan,
Oh, you know what's up there?
Achon,
If I can find the damn verb that I
Lloyd
have.
A. Lloyd Troy.
Wait, let me see. No, already put yours up there.
Okay.
Why do I have an extra?
Participle,
Oh, that's one.
Vidom,
Okay, thank you.
Vidom A.
Participle.
Ugh.
All right.
Katzmar.
All the verbs that have a mood, a tense, voice, and mood, these will be the verbs used as main verbs. All right,
That's what it is.
main verbs. So
Yes.
one of the things that you're always looking for in a sentence, Greek sentence, is what is the main idea? And the main idea will always be conveyed by a verb with a mood. You know, indicative, subjunctive, optative, imperative. You're looking mostly for the indicative mood. If the indicative mood is in the sentence, it is generally the main idea of the sentence. Okay? So, let's look at this first one. This is John 6:50. If you want to go to that, I'll look it up in my computer.
Okay. Let's try.
Let's do
I
that.
got on here.
Was it John
650. 650, yep. 650. Let's see here. Come on up now. Scroll for 10 years. They could fix it when you put the chapter and verse in it, but that's okay.
All right, John 6:50 is, we're looking at participles. So everybody got John 6:50?
Yeah.
All right, so this is the bread, okay? The word is the Greek word ami, and it's present active indicative. So that's going to be your main verb. The verb is. All right, so does it say? This is the bread. This is, because that's a present active indicative, okay? Is the bread. All right, the bread. And now he's going to describe the bread. He's going to give us use a participle as an adjective. It's going to describe the bread. The bread, out of heaven, the one coming down. See, out of heaven, you're going to say the one coming down. All right, you follow that? This word katabino is a present, katabino is a present active participle. Now, we've learned that the action of the present participle occurs at the same time as the action of the main verb. Okay, you remember that? I don't think you were here for that, Austin, but here's what participles do. You have a main idea that you're conveying, and the participles show that other actions that are going on around the main idea. All right, let's say we are studying Greek. That's the main verb. Studying is the present active indicative, okay? This is the main idea. Now, present participle. While sitting in our chairs. See, the sitting is a verbal action going on around the main verb. If it's a present participle, it's going on at the same time. So we're studying Greek while sitting in our chairs, looking at our books. What else? What else is going on in this room? While the sunshine's coming in, while William's cold and Al's hot, all these different things that are going on around the main verb, the purpose of the participle is to convey those ideas. So I used to use this illustration of, you see a boy, little boy, young boy, 10, 12, walking down a dirt road with his fishing pole, hanging over his shoulder. And so the boy is going fishing. The main verb is going. All right? So, while holding his fishing pole, while a bluebird sat up here in the tree, while walking on the dirt road, all these other verbal action ideas, those are participles. Can y'all follow that? That's what you see in the sentence. So, watch. He says, this is the bread of life, identifying Christ, the one who is even now coming down from heaven. So he puts the idea of Christ coming down, or this connection between heaven and the earthly ministry, is a continuous thing. But the action of the present participle is occurring at the same time as the action of the main verb. So in John 6:50, this is a present active indicative. If you look at your sheet, the one out of heaven coming down. Coming down is a present active participle. Okay?
Same time as is.
The time is now. In the writer's mind, he's pointing to Christ, saying, he's speaking to people, saying, this is now.
So the arrow goes from come down to is. Right?
Well, is the main thing.
Yes.
I mean, you don't even need this to convey. See, you could have used it, this is the bread of heaven. This is the bread of heaven. You could say it came down. You could use a whole nother regular verb to say it came down. But it's economical. They didn't have a lot of paper. Koine Greek was a very economical language. It was intended to use fewer words to convey more things. It's the genius of Alexander. So they used participles, these actions going on at the same time as the main verb. So let's look at another one. Let's look at Matthew 27:49.
Okay, before you move on, so
Yeah.
now, so the participle, in that verse 50,
Yeah.
is it coming down?
Yes.
I got an NIV, so I didn't bring my, the other one. But anyway, it doesn't say coming, it says comes down from heaven. Doesn't say is.
Well, I'm just adding that in there.
Okay, I got you.
Just to
okay.
make the English
The
sound
main
better.
thing is it's coming down. Those are the two words.
See, the NIV said, no, the NAS says, this is the bread which comes down out of heaven.
Right.
See, they say which comes down, is,
It's
or is
comes
coming
down from
down.
heaven.
Yeah. But because it's the present participle, it says it's the action's occurring at the same time as the main verb.
It says I am, so it would be I am the living bread that came down from heaven.
Yeah, what version is that? Is that King James?
No, this is the
NIV.
Yeah, NIV is gonna be probably one of your least accurate word for word translations. So if you can get a New American Standard, it'll help you more. Or do you have your interlinear? Do you have an interlinear?
This one right here.
I got that.
That's where you should look it up.
I'll look it up in that.
Not in that English Bible, yeah, look it up in the interlinear. All right, let's look at Matthew 27:49. All right. I know.
Gee whiz.
What glasses, what strength glasses do you wear, Lee?
I have no idea. The military gives them to me.
Yeah. You just take whatever they give you?
Well, I have to get an exam, you know.
I know. Here,
They're
try
free.
this.
They're free, so.
Try this.
Are those the kind you get with reading
Bought them at the
glasses?
store, yeah. See if they're better.
Okay, this one's a little
Little
stronger. That's a little stronger.
Yeah, it's a little stronger.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's blurred, so.
Oh, I see, it won't
Yeah,
help you,
it's too
okay,
strong.
yeah, all right.
But I'm gonna go and get they got a different,
Yeah.
okay. It's good, I'll make it.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Matthew 27:49.
And we did a video.
But the rest of them said, now, you've got your cheat sheet in front of you where I've laid this out for you. What's gonna be the main verb here?
Matthew
What do you think?
27:49,
They were saying,
Said,
The rest
we're
said.
saying,
yeah.
But the rest of them were saying?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it is, yeah,
Yeah,
agreed, because
there it is. Active.
the word saying, lego, is an imperfect active indicative. Do you remember what the imperfect does?
just possible.
What does the imperfect tell you?
Past time continuous.
That's right. So,
I was.
now what does
They
it say?
were saying.
Yeah.
They were saying.
They were saying. The rest of them were saying. Yeah, they were saying because the imperfect tense, imperfect active indicative, continuous action in past time. They kept on saying. This is something they said regularly. Continuous action in the past. Now, if it was aorist tense, what would it be?
They said,
Yeah, it's to be a point. It would just be an image.
just said it once.
But now when you look back on them saying, you see it, this process, this continue. They said it and then they said it again. A little bit later, they said it again. They kept on saying it. All right? So, Rhonda keeps on working out. That's the imperfect. Every 5 days a week, she shows up at the gym and works out. Yeah, that's imperfect tense. She keeps on doing it. So there's your main idea. And then it says, let us see whether a lot, now what are they, you know what this is, this verse is talking about? He's on the cross, and he has just said, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani.
My God, my God.
Yeah, well, have you forsaken me? But they didn't understand that. They thought he was calling on Elijah. So let us see whether Elijah will come to save him. Now, the word come is the word erchomai, and it is an aorist. Come is an aorist active subjunctive. Okay? So what does that tell us about the verb? Aorist active subjunctive.
They said it,
In the past,
they said it once, or
Well, yeah, they said.
they,
they said it's possible.
So aorist tense a lot of times is past time,
past,
but that context won't allow it to be past.
Yeah, they're saying both.
Let's see if Elijah's going to come save you. So the aorist tense gives you a point in time. Often it's described a point in time divorced from time. The point in time that really has nothing to do with past, present, or future. It's a point. So the active voice says Elijah would come and do it himself. The subjunctive mood says maybe he will, maybe he won't. Let's see. Let's see what he does. Okay? Now we're going to see our participle. The word come is the word erchomai, an aorist active subjunctive, but the word save him, or the word save, so we've got the word save, is a future, I can't think,
Active.
active participle. So it's a future active participle. Now, the future participle occurs after the action of the main verb, or the action of, see, this is a little clause. See, that's called indirect discourse. I was just talking about it. And they were saying, and so somebody's describing, Matthew's describing what these other people were saying. So the main idea for us is what Matthew's saying, but Matthew's giving us a look at what these other people are saying. And so within here, you've almost got another main verb. See, this is Matthew's main verb, but this is these other people that were saying this about Jesus. This would be their main verb, but the future would be after he comes. Active voice says, well, Elijah would do it, and the participle says it's occurring at the same time. After.
so when he comes, he would save him at the same time, he would come and save him at the same time.
After he comes. See, the future, if it was an aorist, what if it was an aorist active participle?
It would be at the same time.
See, that would make sense. This would have to be an aorist. Having come, he would save him. So the future participle is really difficult to understand. I'm not sure I understand it. So, all right. Let's look at one more, and then we'll push past participles, because look, if you stick it out, and I really admire, listen, I salute you for coming and sticking this out. This is not easy. This is a difficult thing, Willie.
Willie's face is just.
I know. Look, it's just pure, I don't know what it is. Maybe he's just afraid not to come, or.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, before you
I
go.
promise you, if you'll stick it out,
Yeah, it come to you.
it'll be weeks still. I promise you, it'll start to come together for you, and you will make sense of it.
Right. Okay, now before you move on, the actual participle in that verse 49 is Elijah will come to save him.
Well, the
No,
word
save.
come is a aorist active subjunctive. Save him, or the word save, is a future active participle. And what it's saying is that after he comes, he will save him.
Okay.
The aorist participle occurs before the action of the main verb.
See that?
The present participle occurs at the same time as the main verb.
Participle is
The
saved.
future participle occurs after the action of the main verb.
See, this is the word come, aorist active subjunctive. This is the word save, future
All right.
active participle.
All right, let's do one more. Luke 2:45.
He likes to get those way down
You have
Chapter.
verses right down.
Luke 2.
45.
I can't find it.
I know, that's my problem.
What is it?
On Bible Works, when I type in, and find it, I need to get on a word and it doesn't do it quick enough as a barium.
That's the only good thing about Darien. It's quick. It's just confusing.
Mhm. I guess this is,
I need to
I got it in. How do I
or
see?
get me one.
How do I get to the
Oh,
word?
These.
What do you mean?
The right word to look and see what it is.
Oh, you mean the
To
definition?
click on, no, yeah, to click on it.
Well,
The Amazon fires for
Yeah.
open.
all right, put that- yeah. So you just put your word, your thing on it, and then you see that word, you risk it.
Tab.
Yeah, but how do you get to
And
know?
there's, which ones are, I can't see it.
An 8-inch
So
can
small.
is like
See, there's your wrist
$69.
How do you get
Yeah,
to
they're
it?
not. Here's a
Present
7-inch
active,
for
okay,
50.
so it's down here on the word.
You find it,
Present
you
lunch.
click, you put your cursor on
I was
there.
expecting to be
It
like
tells you what
I
the
know,
word is.
I
You
know.
have to just
They
read, you have to
come
be able to
down.
read the Greek word.
Yeah.
This,
When you
the
find it in the
8-inch
Greek,
is a
Put
limited
your cursor
time
on it
deal
and it tells you what it
for
is.
$69.99.
Yeah, that one stop yours is.
I don't know what this is,
All right, guys.
but anyway,
Let me slow it down a little bit. It doesn't do any good if we don't learn.
yeah, I agree with that.
So, all right, Luke 2:45. Is it 45? Yeah, and then we'll do 46. He says, and when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem looking for him. This is his parents when he's 12 years old. And so, are you in your interlinears? Or you got the verse in front of you? Okay. And he says, Kai, which is and when. The word may there, M-E, is they did not find him. Eurisco is an aorist active participle.
Mhm.
All right, let me see if I can find that. All right,
So
When?
when they did not find him.
they did not
That's the aorist active word.
find.
Find.
Yeah, see, this is going to be an aorist active participle. When does the action of the aorist participle occur?
At the same time of the main verb?
Nope,
Oh,
not the same
the
time.
aorist one? would
The
be
aorist
Act.
before the action of the main verb. So right away we've got this participle. And so when they did not find him, or literally having not found him, see, that's already occurred. They returned. And that word is the word hupostrepho, to turn around. They returned. Now that's an aorist active indicative. And so, would that tell you that's the main idea?
Indicative, yes.
The main idea in this sentence that the writer's making is they ended up turning around. Now, and he says, here's why they turned around. They did not find him. Having not found him, he didn't want to make a complete sentence out of the idea they did not find him. So he put a participle in there that conveyed that idea. Having not found him, they returned. They returned to Jerusalem. And when they returned to Jerusalem, they were looking for him. And that is a present active participle. So, now, if this is the main verb, the main idea, returning back to Jerusalem, they've already not found him. They're going back home, and they start looking. And where's Jesus? Where's Jesus? Where's Jesus? He's not here. You know, look through everything, ask everybody, he's just not here. So, having not found him, they turned around and headed back to Jerusalem. Now, when does the action of the present participle occur in relation to the main verb?
After.
Nope. Present
Wait,
participle.
present participle is at the same time.
At the same time. So they returned There's your main idea. They didn't find him. Now imagine how hard they looked, because there must have been a big crowd. You know, a lot of their whole city must have gone. And so they're looking through everyone, asking everybody they can see. He's not with us. So Joseph and Mary sent everybody on, and they return. So the main idea is they return. And while they're returning, what are they doing?
They're looking for him.
They're
while
looking for
going.
him.
Looking.
That's the present participle occurs at the action occurs at the same time as the main verb.
So they didn't just go back to Jerusalem and then look for him. They looked for him while they were
Every step of the way.
Right.
I mean, if you lost something, came from somewhere and you lost it, and now you go back and you're tracing your steps and looking everywhere, you know, all along the way you're looking for it. That's what they were doing. Because see, there were more people coming behind them. This is a big deal. There was just hundreds, perhaps thousands of people coming back toward that direction along this pathway. And so they go back, and everybody they see, they ask, I mean, do you know, have you seen this young man, this young boy? Have you seen him? Have you seen him? Have you seen him? So they return, and while they're going back, they're looking, they're asking everybody. Now let's look at verse 46.
So the participle is looking, they were looking
Yeah,
for him.
the part, see, the first participle, William, the word find,
Mhm.
look down at your sheet. See the word find? They did not find him?
Yeah, yes.
So that word is an aorist participle. It means the action of the aorist participle, they're not finding him,
Okay.
occurs before the action of the main verb. The main verb is they return.
All right, okay, so that makes it, okay.
They're on their way home. They notice that he's not with them. Has anybody seen Jesus? Uh-oh. And they started asking everybody and looking through everything, and they can't believe it. It's like they've lost their son. They're freaking out. You know, somebody's snatched him. Somebody's done something to him. And they're terrified. And they turned around fast.
If somebody tried to give that,
Yeah. Well, see,
He would be giving them
No,
the box.
the whole fear and anxiety thing was really, really, really just, that's why I believe they had lost their connection to the real mission. Because when they get back and she says to him, why have you done this to your father and I? And he corrects her very gently by saying, you know that I must be about my father's business. He's not my father, you know. And what did he say?
It's dad issues.
Dad issues, yeah. Anyway, all right.
But still, you
Okay.
gotta think that
Okay.
Mary was like, I just lost the Savior. Like, I would be a little worried too that, oh my gosh, I just lost.
I thought Mary was sinless.
Well,
Mary can be sinless. But I would be like, whew.
all right, let's look at 46. In fact, I got 47 and 48 here too.
Holy.
I know it. And so 46,
Wait, what are you on?
look on your sheet.
Oh, two.
It says, well.
We did Luke
2:46.
2:45, and now we're on to Luke 46. They have returned to Jerusalem. And it says, then, where am I? And then after 3 days, they found him. Let me look at this, Luke 2:46.
How in the world do you pick the main verb out of this one?
Well, it's not easy to do. You just get better at it. You get better at seeing the whole thing. All right. And so they became the word genomai, present active and participle. How is that being translated? And after 3 days they found
It was or came to be is what it says on this.
Yeah, and it came to be, really. That's what it means. See, the word genomai means to be. It's a status of being. But genomai, it means to become. So, you know, I'm at a certain level of maturity in my life, but I'm going to become more mature, hopefully, if I live long enough. So there's your aorist participle. No, sorry, it's a present participle. And see, when he says, when it was becoming, really, after 3 days, and he's just telling you that these things are happening. It's an idiom. See, another thing.
This is like an aorist middle indicative where it was or came to be.
It's a verb.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is an aorist middle indicative.
The
I'm doing the
entire
wrong thing.
verb isn't even.
You left it off on the sheet.
Yeah, well, I really wasn't including. It's an aorist middle indicative.
Indicative, yeah.
That's right. I apologize. I'm looking at the word under it. If you look on your sheet 246,
Yeah.
the
that was
present
the
active
word.
participle is actually the word under it, akuo.
Yeah.
The first verb that it happened at isn't even translated.
Yeah, well, it means, and it came to be.
So
That's
it's-
what it means. It came to be
Okay.
aorist middle indicative.
But they found him would be the main verb.
After 3 days, let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, they found him. There's aorist active
Yeah,
indicative.
that makes sense.
Okay?
So they found him as the main verb?
Yeah. After 3 days,
Oh, they found
it came to be. After 3 days. See that? Why is he adding that it came to be?
Telling a story.
He is telling a story.
There it is.
And he wants you to think, he wants you to realize that this coming to be was 3 days in the making. It was for 3 days it was coming to be that they found him. Took him 3 days. So he's wanting you to visualize what was going on with them for 3 days. Think about this. They look for him all day and half the night till they're exhausted. And they have to eat and lay down to sleep for a little while, but they get up at 4 in the morning and they continue their search, day 2. And they get up at 4 in the morning and continue their search, day 3. And somewhere in the middle of day 3, they come into the temple and there he is. But for those 3 days, there was some tension. There was some mental attitude sins going on.
Some mental attitude things.
She
All right.
First John 1:9.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
All right, it came to be after 3 days that they found him in the temple. All right, are you with me?
Yeah.
All right, they found him in the temple and he was doing something.
Sitting.
He was sitting.
Right.
So, watch. All right. Here's Genomai. It came to be. That's an aorist middle indicative, right? Came to be.
Yeah.
And then they found him,
Found.
aorist active indicative,
Yeah.
Yes.
Eurisco,
Sure.
okay? And then after 3 days, they found him. No, they, go ahead.
Found him
Found
sitting.
sitting.
Yeah, they found him sitting, and that's the word, kathedzomai. All right, so they found him sitting, kathedzomai, and that is,
Present.
what is it?
Middle. Present middle participle.
Present middle participle. Now, the present participle occurs at the same time as the action of the main verb.
Mhm.
So what does that tell you? Help me understand what that means.
As they found him,
They-
he was seated.
Found, yes.
They walked in the room, and at the same time they're walking in the room, he's sitting. That's what it's telling them. They walked into the room and there he was sitting. And they didn't just say it matter-of-factly like, see, the reason they use a verb here, a participle, is they're making a big deal out of it. They're showing the action. 3 days they have been looking for this boy.
And found him sitting.
Nervous and upset and angry and terrified, and they walk in, and he's not been kidnapped. You know, he's not at gunpoint. Of course, they didn't have guns yet, but he's just sitting.
So they're putting emphasis on sitting.
Well, they're putting emphasis on this. They're trying to paint this picture.
Yeah.
With seated being middle, does that mean like they were sitting?
You know, it means, see, who's doing the sitting?
Jesus.
So he's acting upon himself. He got himself to sit. So he's sitting in the middle of what?
Teachers.
The ones teaching, yeah, the didaskalos. And what's he doing?
Listening.
He's listening. That's the word akuo. That's what I was identifying a little while ago with. And it is what?
Present active participle.
Present active participle. So the main verb eurisco now has two participles, present participles, that are painting the picture of what was going on in the room when they walked into it.
Well, there's actually 3 participles.
When they found him. Yeah, I think we got 3 of them, don't we?
The last one is asking questions.
Yeah, there you go. See, I haven't got to it yet. So when they walked into the room, main idea, at the same time, he was sitting, he was listening, and he was asking some questions.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah, there you go. Ask me a question. Let's see, what's that word? Asking questions is the word, it's erato, really is what it is, but it's, we'll just write it. So he's asking questions, and that is what?
Present active participle.
Present active participle. So here's the main idea, and here's 3 accompanying actions that were going on around the main idea as the main idea is occurring. Does that make sense? Are you with me on that? You got that, Austin? Okay.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting
Yeah. You just have to hear it. Are you following the argument? Now, let me just go back for just 1 second. A present participle
there. Yes,
occurs in the sentence,
yes.
occurs at the same time as the action of the main verb. The main verb here is they found him.
Yes.
Can you see that? They walked around the corner in the temple and boom, there he is.
And as they find him, he is sitting, and as he's sitting, he's also
When they,
listening.
and when they turned the corner, there he is, he's sitting, he's listening and asking questions. All at the same moment. So the present participles tell you what was going on at the same time as they found him. And that's their purpose. They show action that is occurring either before, during, or after the action of the main verb. Again, we are studying Greek is the main idea. Present participle while sitting in chairs. Okay, you follow that? Present participle says, what else is going on while you're studying? What's going on in the room at the same time that you want to emphasize?
Willie's brain is turning.
Yeah, Willie's brain is smoking.
No, Will's brain is stopped.
Willie's brain is gone.
Sit still.
Yeah,
They're all
that's
happening at the
funny.
same time, and that's-
It's cooling. Willie's brain is cooling off.
He's basically painting a big picture.
All right. So, all right, we're just gonna
but there's-
leave that and come back to it.
But there, I had written down
Yep.
that they match. Okay, well, I think I've got something wrong on my paper that's messing me up. That the tense, voice, and mood match the same verb, but they don't always, do they?
No, that don't really have anything to do with that.
Okay, where did I get that?
Well, when you get
Well, I'm
to,
marking that out. 'cause
Yeah, you
it's
need to mark that out.
confusing me.
The devil.
Okay,
The devil.
the devil gave me that, okay,
that is, that's something that's left for the nouns.
okay,
The articles, the word the
The.
adjectives, and the nouns that connect are gonna be in the same case, often the same gender or number.
That's what it is, your nouns.
It's your nouns.
Okay.
The nouns match.
I don't know why I wrote that on my
Well,
participle page.
So let's look at the nouns right quick.
Nouns, not
Nouns,
participles.
Can you show it in Ephesians 2:8-9?
Yeah, what do you wanna know?
Wait, are we leaving the verbs?
Yeah, we got, we can keep beating on it, but everybody's getting.
Oh my gosh, I
From
flipped right to
them.
it.
I mean, this is what, hour 4 of y'all study today?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So now the actual participle in that verse, 247 was, the action. Did you get that? Yeah,
we didn't get to 47.
Okay, all right, I got it.
There were, in verse 46, there were 3 participles.
All right, okay. And that's they found, sitting, and listening.
When they found him, at the same time he was sitting,
Right.
he was listening, and he was asking.
And he was asking, so okay, so it's 4.
Yes.
I was trying
All right,
to
what about
make
Ephesians
that
2, 8, and 9?
Are you trying to look at how the nouns relate to the participles?
No.
No, right now we're just going to nouns.
Well, like, okay, then maybe not then. I just thought that was.
Verbs relate.
You're talking about that, the
Well, we talked
word,
about a couple.
the word that, the word
Yeah,
this.
that.
Verbs
Yeah.
relate to the participles, right?
Let's see.
Participles and verbs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay.
Are you, what page are you gonna be on?
Well, let's go to Ephesians 2:8 right quick, and I'll show you one more participle here, okay? One more participle.
Ephesians 2:8.
Ephesians 2:8. This is a really important one. I mean, they're all important, but this is really a big one.
Okay.
Ephesians 2:8.
You can just make this one.
So,
That's not on my paper.
for by grace, now, read the verb there. You have been saved, right?
Yes.
Now, are you looking at it in the interlinear?
Wait, have been saved is not the verb, is it?
Well,
Verb is you
there's
are.
2 verbs
You
there.
have
You have been saved. Saved is so-so.
There's 2 verbs there.
2 verbs.
The first one is I me.
You have been.
No,
You are.
you are.
You are.
What?
Why? See that word, I me? E-I-M-I, it's the 4th word.
Because you have been this perfect.
It says E-S-T-E, este.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You see that, Austin?
You are.
Yeah. It's,
Yes.
all right, you got it? All right, when you got 2 verbs together like that, it's called a periphrastic, and it's a way of underlining it and making it bold. It's a way of emphasizing it. So, all right, so by grace, you are, and that's I me. It's este, which is the present, oh, come on.
Active indicative.
Present active indicative of I me. Present active indicative, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that means you are right now, as you sit, you are. You be.
Save you are.
You bees. Yeah.
Is.
Now watch this. Then he says, sozo, with a perfect passive participle. Now, the perfect participle, I don't like that. All right, let me do this. So you've got I, me, E-I-M-I, present active indicative, and then we translate it you are. And then we've got the word sozo. And it is a perfect passive participle. And it's the word saved. Now, the perfect tense indicates what?
It's just an accomplished thing in the past.
Something complete. That's the main idea.
It continues forever.
Generally, it's a process that came to a completion in the past with results that endure. Okay? So, a perfect participle will occur, just like an aorist, will occur before the action of the main verb. So the indicative voice of I, me is the main verb. The main verb in that sentence is you are.
Mm-hmm.
You are.
Yeah.
Not you will be. Not you were, but you are now. And then the participle comes along and says, having been saved. Having been totally and completely saved, with the result that you continue to be saved into the future. Are you following that? The participle, the perfect participle, occurs before the action of the main verb. So, you were saved, completed action. Passive voice says what?
Done to you.
You received it.
The subject receives it.
You didn't do it. The participle relates it back to the main verb and says you came to a place of completed salvation, permanent, enduring, and now that's what you are.
So what's the main verb?
You are, I mean.
For by grace, you are.
See that?
You are.
That's real important.
the main-
And he used a participle and a periphrastic. He used a participle to do that. You are now. You are what? So Rhonda, you are.
Mhm.
You know, I could
Having
think,
been saved, I am.
yeah, you're a lot more than that though.
Mhm.
I could say a lot of things about you.
Okay, so that's the main verb, you are, or in
So,
this case, ye, are ye
Almost.
No butter under the toast.
saved, and not ourselves.
You gotta win out of here.
Who else? Who else's husband talks about them all the time?
Just keep going, Greg.
All right.
You're a star student.
Oh.
Now look, here, this is important. He could have used an aorist participle because the action of the aorist participle occurs before the action of the main verb and said the same thing. Except for when he used the perfect participle, he brings in the idea of completed action. Nothing else needs to be done. It's done. And now that's what you are. Okay? It's a real, it's security, it's
It's a done
the
deal.
passive, it's a done deal, it's the passive voice that you didn't do it, God did it for you. There's so many things and see, that participle is what makes that so strong.
So it's kind of like you entered a perfect salvation.
Well, you reached a place of completeness and now you are in that.
Yeah.
So what we've been teaching, the salvation happens at a moment in time and you're in it.
So in other words, that you are is the main verb and plus is the perfect participle.
You are saved is the perfect participle, yeah.
Okay, that's part of it, okay.
Mhm. You know, you are having been saved, permanently and completely saved. So, pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. All right, so, do y'all want a break or you want to just kind of push through?
I'm chilling. Let's do it.
All right.
How about you, Rhonda?
Do it.
All right, let's look at the cases again. And we'll just relax a little bit and blow your mind up.
Well, we've already passed that point.
Yeah, I know, buddy. I know, buddy.
Wait, it is blown.
Yeah, there you go. Your mind having been blown.
Yeah.
Now, is that in the aorist tense or the perfect tense?
That's in all tenses.
Yeah, all right.
Can we find a test to put it back together?
There you go.
Well,
All
your
right.
mind is blown, will be blown, and it.
Has been blown.
Yeah. All right, y'all see that page?
Which one? I can't see.
The cases,
The cases?
title of the cases.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, title B cases?
Yeah.
Okay. Title B cases like this.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the cases. Now, we're gonna move away from verbs and talk about nouns and adjectives and definite articles and prepositions. Other parts of speech.
Okay.
Okay, the verbs are the most important thing. If you only learn the verbs and learn how to use the verbs in your cheat sheet, you can follow the action of this being discussed for the most part. If you do nothing else, then learn how to use the verbs and the participles. And one day before life's over, we'll get to infinitives. And they're pretty important too. But verbs and participles really tell the whole story. That's the skeleton of what's being said. All right, but nouns, and especially prepositional phrases, in these cases are important. So the cases control the translation of nouns, adjectives, participles, pronouns, and articles. Many of the cases require a preposition to complete their translation or their meaning. For instance, when you find a noun, all right, here we go. And this is, and you identify this by the endings. Now, we've not done any kind of ending work. We've not gone through the endings and showed you the different endings because you have these computer programs to do that for you. You can put your cursor on a noun and it's going to say it's in the genitive case. All right?
We went through a couple of them.
Yeah, we've gone through it.
We've gone through it, but-
So the genitive case, when you say, okay, that's a noun in the genitive case, just about every time it's going to be translated with the preposition of. Like the Greek word theos. What is theos? Is the word for what?
God.
God.
All right, but theou is the genitive
God.
of theos, and it's translated of
God.
God.
What does genitive mean?
I don't know exactly what it means. I don't know what that word means.
See where it says?
Green 2020.
this
It
case?
means, on your page here, it's a description,
Description.
identification, attribution. In other words, all right, look, see this pen?
Nice pen.
Okay, you could say the pen of Al, or the pen of the church, or the pen of the board. In other words, it belongs to the board. It's a belonging.
It's always going to be something of something.
Well, in the genitive it is.
And
The genitive is saying, yeah, it's connected to something, it belongs to it, or it's describing it. So, yeah, the genitive of description, you know, this computer in the genitive is Al's computer, the computer of Al. And that's how the Greeks would say it. They would use the word of, the computer of Al. All right.
A barrel of crackers.
There you go. The nominative, which is the number one, is always the subject. If you're looking for the subject of the sentence, look for the nominative case. All right, and when you find the nominative case, almost every time that's going to be your subject. It is called the naming case. So what's a noun?
Person, place,
Person, place, or thing. So you're naming it. What is this? A pen. All right, that's a pen. So that's the naming of it. The genitive is the genitive of description or identification, or you make some attribution about it.
in English.
Well, you know, you say who it belongs to, or what's the characteristics of it, and it's generally translated with the preposition of. Now, there's another, the same form, the same ending. See, if this is genitive of God, genitive, sharing the same form, that's the OU, can also be ablative, which is the idea of separation. And so what preposition would we use here? From God. So the genitive shows connection, description. You know, the ablative, though, it shares the same form, but you can see the way the sentence reads. You know, this is dealing with from God, or from. It's a separation. So when you see the same form and you try to say the such and such of God, and you go, that just doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense to me. And you go, then you say, well, maybe it's ablative. It has the same form as the genitive, but the usage is ablative. You go in the da-da-da from God, you go, okay. That's how you figure this out. So we'll get to it. I'm trying to get you where we can get into 1 John and start identifying all the words in a sentence or 2 or 3 sentences, and we'll come in here and identify them all and show how they fit together, so you can begin to see how sentences are put together, so we can tear them back apart and figure out what they're saying. All of these are just the different pieces of the language that we're trying to get familiar with. Okay? Now, so the cases, what they do is they take a noun, and the nominative case would be theos. Well, yeah, we could use that word. Let's do that. Rhonda, would you find the grammar, the chapter where it starts to deal with the cases, the second declension? Can you do that?
Chapter, lesson 4.
And what word do they use? I'm gonna follow a word through here. All right, we are sorry. I'll do that. All right.
Page 15
All right.
in my book.
The nominative case is the subject. Does anybody know what the word huios means?
Quios.
Huios. See, that's an H. That's the H sound. Huios.
Isn't it Lord? Is it Lord? No.
Quios.
It's an adult son. Yeah, it's the word Lord. I mean, no, it's not. It's the word son.
Son.
But specifically an adult son.
Yeah, it's an adult son. There's 5 stages. There's a brephos,
Yeah.
a napios, a pais, a teknon, and a huios. These are different stages of human growth. Jesus is the huios of theos. He's the huios of he's the huios theou, which is the Son of God. So, all right. So the nominative case, now what we're looking at is the endings. All right, huios, and this is the naming. Who is he? He's the Son. The genitive shows possession, description, a lot of different ideas, but he will be the huiou, right? Is that right, Rhonda?
Right.
Are you on that page?
Right, Rhonda?
Is it huiou?
For which one? The genitive?
Genitive.
Come on,
U-I-O-U. See the ending?
Oh, there we go. Yes,
You got it?
yes.
All right.
O-U,
And
yes.
so you're going to translate that of a son. And then the ablative, see, watch this, this is important, which shows separation, is also going to be huiou. See, what you need to understand, there's 5 forms with 8 functions. And these, the genitive and ablative share the same endings. You following this? I know you're all burned out,
O-U.
but just listen to it and it'll make sense later. Now, so that means probably from a son, and then you got the dative, which is huiou. With that little, the subscript under it. Huiou, and that's to a son. Locative. What's the locative do? What does it show?
Location.
Location. And that's going to be huiou. And it's going to be at. In or at. the Son. And then instrumental is the means, and it's going to be huio, and it's going to be by the Son or with the Son. And then the accusative is the direct object, and it's what's this huion? O-N ending?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And that means son. All right. The change in the ending changes the case, which changes the preposition by which these things are translated. It's depending on how they're used. But I know that's very complicated. You don't realize that we do the exact same thing in English, but you never studied it like that. You just picked it up. You just learned it and learned to use it. And you learned how to agree your voice, your nouns and verbs together. A singular noun has a singular verb. And you just learned to do that naturally. And you didn't realize that you were using the genitive case or the ablative case, that every time you said, where are you? Well, I'm coming from the church. That's the ablative case.
So instead of saying in Greek, they wouldn't say from a church, they'd say something, like they wouldn't have the word from, they have a different ending on the verb.
Yeah, they just have the different ending on the noun.
Yeah.
To be church would have a
It
different.
would be, yeah.
Of the church, from the church.
Yeah.
You'd have the verb coming, and then you'd have the word church in the genitive case, or the ablative case. So I'm coming from the church.
So that's how you make it make sense. Like you wouldn't say coming to, or coming at church, or coming by church.
That's one of the ways you figure out what function's being used. Because these first two genitive, these two share a form. These three share the same form,
So just
same
what
ending.
makes sense.
Well, you got to read it and go,
Yeah.
you say, well, that's, you try to say it, well, by means of the Son, and you go, that doesn't fit. Doesn't fit the rest of the sentence, and so you change, well, maybe it's in the Son, or at the Son, or to the Son, and finally you go, okay, that's what that is. So, it's just making sense of the language. A lot of it's just common sense.
Well, what helps me is relating what we learn here to English and then just seeing what the differences are.
Yeah.
It's not that deep a difference. I mean, this is a little different, but
Very few people are really up on English at all, though. We used to teach an English course before we started Greek.
that's not that agreeable.
No, it's not, and it was helpful. Peggy Baxter used to do that. Carol Davenport used to do that, yeah. These were teachers, so. Well, all right, guys, that's gonna be all we're gonna get to today.
I was all right.